especially when we're nearing the end of our life, when we're processing and we know what really mattered in life, it's mostly relationships. One of the first things that most people say is their relationship with God, their spiritual life is one of the most important things to them. Another thing that you'll find is still along the lines of relationships is with our family. Whether that's and people break that down differently, but your spouse, if you're married, your kids, your extended family. Family is a pretty high priority to people when we really boil down what's most important in life. Friendships, some of your friends are the most important things. What doesn't show up on that list? Probably the same things that aren't showing up on your list on this study that I read. How much money is in your bank account? It usually doesn't show up at the end of our lives as one of the most important things in life to us. The toys that we accumulated, the clothing that we bought, how we accessorized that car that you couldn't wait to get or that boat and finally you got it, how many followers you have on Instagram, those things just aren't quite as important. So why is it that we spend so much time chasing after, going after those things that really aren't the most important things in life? All right, so today, to help us to get into this idea of less is more living, to live like we believe that less is more, I've got a pretty simple outline for you in your program. Really just three things I want to hit on a little bit to help us move towards less is more living. And the first one you'll find is we need to cut back. We need to cut back on our consumption. Now, Missy and I have lived and we've been married 30 years. We've lived in a couple different homes and rented and some other ones as well. Through the course of that time, I've noticed something. Now, there's a few things you can notice about older homes compared to newer homes. Some of the homes we've lived in were built a long time ago. And in older homes, one of the things you might notice is there isn't a lot of closet space. So I got thinking about why is there not a lot of closet space in these older homes? Well, if you think about when it was built, it was probably quite a bit simpler of times back then. And if the times were simpler, can you imagine how much clothing they needed for their closet, to fill their closet? I mean, the guys would have had something they wear at church on Sunday, and they would have had something they work in, maybe one extra something they work in. That's about it, so they didn't need a lot of closet space. What about today? If you're going house hunters and you're looking for the perfect new place, one of the things that you probably are looking for is storage space for all your stuff. Because we've accumulated stuff over time, and now we need a place to store it when we move into a place. And if there isn't enough closet space, then it's probably going to take our garage. And garages are supposed to be for cars. But then if your garage runs out of space, and, well, there's the attic, or you add a storage, or you go rent storage space. So we just need more space for our stuff. And you look at the closets today, you walk in, and, well, I said you walk in. It's a walk-in closet, and when you walk in your closet, then you can hit a button, and sometimes in some fancy houses you see the drop down with the lights all come on the wardrobe out of the ceiling, or you can hit a different button in your shoes, spin around to another shoe rack. Fancy. All right, so in our cool closets, and we're looking for more space, what happens is we walk through our closets, and we touch all of our clothes, and then we come up with the statement where we say, I just don't have anything to wear. I think at moments like that, we probably ought to go back to this less is more type of living. You remember what Jesus said about it? He was talking to a young man, and at the end of this parable, talking to this guy, he says, your life doesn't consist in the accumulation, in the abundance of your stuff. I didn't quote it exactly. I don't think he used the word stuff. It doesn't consist in the abundance of what we have and our possessions. Well, and we know that in our head. Yeah, our life isn't all about all the stuff that I have, but sometimes if it translates to our heart, it doesn't get lived out sometimes with us. So we kind of know that, and there's something freeing about not needing more, to being able to be content with the one handful and not needing multiple handfuls. All right, so if our first thought is we need to cut back. Why? Because relationships are much more important than our stuff. This hit me this week. I was working here, I think it was Thursday, and had put in I got in early, worked all day, working a lot of hours, and it was in the afternoon. And I got thinking that my grandson, Archie, was at the house. Missy was watching him that day. And I was thinking about that about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I knew he was getting picked up pretty soon, and I thought, I've got so much to do. And yet, what's most important? Well, I packed my stuff up, ran home, spent about a half hour playing with my grandson. Mom picked him up and took him, his mom picked him up and took him back home. So then I came back to work and worked for another number of hours, because I kind of get this idea that relationships and people are much more important than my stuff. So my first thought is we just need to cut back. Pretty simple thought, right? Next thought is we got to clear out. All right, so we have stuff, and we know we got the big walk-in closet, or maybe you don't have that, but you've got stuff. What don't you use anymore? What don't you wear anymore? Could you clear out? Because there is something freeing when we don't have as much clutter in our lives. So could you clear out? Now, there are reasons why we don't clear out, and I think they're good reasons. For some, you don't want to clear stuff out because you didn't grow up with much. And if you didn't grow up with much, you have this mentality that I might need it one day. And therefore, I don't want to get rid of anything in case I might need it. Even though we don't see it, we still think we might need it. I have a friend, and in his growing up life, he had a number of siblings, and they didn't have, when I say they were poor, they barely had enough food for each member of their family to eat. So it came dinner time, and mom would ring the bell or call out, food's on, come and get it, whatever. Well, the kids had learned that if you aren't the first couple people to the table, you're not going to get food, because it was every man for themselves. Come and grab, pull it on your plate, start eating right away. They didn't gather around and let's all pray for our meal. No, they were after it. And once they missed, and he missed meals many times, as he grew up, this affected him. So he has this mentality that, and now he's an adult, and his mind has changed, and he doesn't take food from his kids or anything like that. And yet, he has this mentality that I may need stuff someday. And so I hang on to everything in case I might need it. Some of us have a hard time decluttering, clearing out, because we feel like we may need it. But there's another reason I think that sometimes we don't get rid of some of the stuff that we have, and that's because of sentiment. Because of who gave it to us at the time we got it, or we can remember everything we've got and when we got it. And I was thinking about that. See, I started clearing out, 2 weeks ago maybe, I started clearing out one of our rooms. And I was decluttering, getting rid of some things. Didn't even know this message was coming up, but was getting rid of some games and some puzzles. And I texted my kids, anybody want this? I'm just trying to get rid of some things. And in that decluttering, I came across one drawer. And in that drawer, I found 4 baseballs. And I thought, what are these? Oh, yeah, I remember. Each one of these baseballs I had gotten at a baseball game. 2 of them were at Tin Caps games. 2 of them were at Major League games. This one in particular I got at Wrigley. So I was at Wrigley Field, and while there, got there early. I like the Cubs, but they're not my favorite team. Sorry, Cubs fans. The Los Angeles Dodgers, I've followed them since I was little, so I'm a Dodger fan. And so I was there on a day when the Dodgers were playing the Cubs and got there early for batting practice. And one of the all-time great players of baseball, Eddie Murray, had moved over to the Dodgers late in his career. I got a couple of his rookie cards. See, I keep stuff. I do it too. So he's at bat in batting practice, and he hooks one out around the screen, and I'm down the right field line, and here it comes, right down in our area. Just past me, actually. And this guy reaches up, bare hand, and tries to grab this ball, and it hits him. I think it probably hurt him. And it drops, and it comes back towards me. And with the 30 other people standing around, I ran and grabbed that thing, and yes, I got a ball off of Eddie Murray's bat. I'm so excited. And the guy comes up to me, and he says, hey, I hit it. Touched me first. I hit it. And I said, sorry about your luck. I don't think that's what I said. It could have been. I don't remember what I said. I just remember I got the ball. All right, so I've got this ball, and I just found it again, along with a couple other balls. But you know how much this ball is worth off the bat of Hall of Famer Eddie Murray? $1, whatever I could sell. Nothing. Because I didn't get it authenticated. You got to just trust me that it was off his bat, but nobody else would know that. It doesn't say that. I didn't get it autographed by him. It's just sentimental to me. And while I was getting rid of stuff, I had a hard time getting rid of this, and I didn't. I still have it. because of sentiment. So there are a couple reasons why we may not get rid of some things. My challenge is that I think we might need to. We might need to declutter our lives. If you remember our verse that we've kind of hit on a few times, better is one handful with peace, with tranquility, than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. It's better to limit, minimize, and not be distracted by all the stuff that we have. And all the choices that we have to make it difficult. We walk through the closet, it's all those choices that make it so difficult when we say we don't have anything to wear. Have you ever been to a restaurant that has a really big menu? I mean, I can think of a couple. One of the ones that Missy and I sometimes go to in Fort Wayne is called BJ's. Their menu's huge. And then I go through, I'm going, I don't know what I want. If I go to El Camino, I know what I want. Mexican restaurant. If I go to an Italian restaurant, I know what I want. But if I go to a place like Cheesecake Factory, anybody ever been to Cheesecake Factory? Some of you are missing out. That place, the food is incredible and the cheesecake is the best ever, but the menu is like 60 pages long and you go through, I don't know. And then you get to the cheesecake menu alone, it's 130 cheesecakes. I've tried them all. You can't go wrong. I really haven't, but I've tried a few of them. So the overwhelming number of choices make it difficult in life. We need to cut back. So here's my challenge for you when it comes when you clear out. When it comes to clearing out your stuff, if you get one, give one. Anytime you get something, then give something. If you just can't get yourself to give it, then sell it. Do a rummage sale or a garage sale or something. But get one, give one with everything. All right, so you get a new shirt, you give a shirt. You get a new pair of pants, you give a pair of pants. You get a new pair of shoes, here we go. You don't collect them, you give a pair. Get one, give one. You get a new pair of underwear, no, you don't give your underwear away, you throw them away. Everything else, get one, give one. All right, so here's the challenge for you. Could you go home today or sometime this week when you got a little bit of time, and could you clear out? Could you give away 100 things? All right, there's a challenge. See if you could join the 100 Things Club. Some of you, that's going to be pretty easy. It will. Some of you need to set your goal at 500 things. Some of you could do the 1,000 Thing Club, all right? But could you clear out? I know you can. Now start pondering what you could clear out. And when you clear out, what that does is that frees up your life, your attention. It gives you more space for God. Cut back, clear out, and the third and final thing we're talking about is pay off. What we need to do is we need to get rid of some of the stress that comes. Now, next week we're going to be talking about stress is bad. And one of the biggest stresses that anybody ever has, especially if you're married, one of the biggest stresses you're going to have if you're not married yet is financial. All right, financial stress just weighs us down, and we're going to talk a lot more about that next week and the heart behind it. I'm just going to give you a few nuggets on it today. Because I've never heard anybody say to me that my debt just brings me such joy. I haven't heard that before. I've never heard anybody say, when I look at my credit card statement, I see how much interest I'm paying every month. Boy, I just feel closer to God right there. Because that's not the case. Financial stress affects us. We wait. I have heard people talk about how it wakes me up at night. And it gives me anxiety, and we fight about it if you're in a relationship about finances. What I would encourage you to do is to begin. Begin to knock down your financial debt. Even if it's just a little bit. Pay a little bit extra, and some of you are going, I don't know where I'm going to find it. But as soon as you're able, start to pay that down more quickly. Now, we're definitely cutting back, so we're not adding new debt, and we're clearing out some of our stuff, but we're also going to start to pay off, paying down what we owe. If you could tackle one credit card, whatever one is your highest interest credit card, go after that one first, because you're going to pay a lot less interest in the long run. So start paying on that one. And one day, you get that thing paid off. And when you get it paid off, you don't go out and you don't rejack it up. You don't go on a Disney cruise. No, start paying on the next one. Use the money you were paying on the one and roll it into and pay more on the next one. Pay that thing down. What happens when you pay off some of your credit? Well, then you start tackling your car. and you start paying for your car and pay that thing off. Wouldn't it be incredible to say, for the rest of my life, I don't have any car payments because you've paid them off? But once you get that done, move on to the student loan debt that you had when you incurred when you went through college, if you have that. Or be like those crazy people and go for your house. I haven't got there yet. But what if you started paying extra on your house and you were able to pay off your house one day? I know it might be one day down the road. All that money that you're spending on mortgage payments every single month, you could spend that on whatever. Not on more consumption, but you could live with a lot of joy and being able to help people when they need help. All right, so pay off. Now, I started thinking about this payoff one a little bit, and I thought this is important for us, all of us, myself. We need to pay our stuff off. But I also thought about, what about as a church? As a church, we've got some debt that we incurred when we started the bridge. Now, I've been around since the early days of the bridge, back when they made Mo, and Mo is our founding pastor if you're newer here, Mo and myself and one of our board members, Roger, they made us take guarantees out of our own personal money in case the church failed. The banks did when they loaned us money. All right, so way back in the day, that was pretty challenging, pretty difficult, pretty scary for a guy like me. But then I thought, I don't have anything, so if they come after all my money, they're not going to get much. It's all right, I'll sign on that thing. But now we've got the guarantees off, and we've taken a few more second and third mortgages or moved some things together when we made some improvements when we started the bridge in Bern, when we built that out because there was so much growth at that church that we had to have bigger space. So our mortgage has been as high as $700,000, a little bit more than that at times. Right now, as of October 1st, we've got our mortgage paid down to $122,000. I think that's awesome. All right, so yeah, that's pretty cool. It's paid all the way down that low. And I started thinking about this payoff thing, and I thought, we need to pay that off. All right, we need to live as a church without debt, and how much more good in our community could we do if we didn't have to make monthly mortgage payments on our church? Well, we're in the middle of a campaign. We're nearing the end of a campaign, so I'm not introducing a new idea today, a new campaign. It was more of a brainstorm. We got to finish our other one. Our other one was a 2-year campaign. If you're newer, you may not know about this, called the Every Campaign, and it was going to go until March of 2020. And so some are still working on their pledges and paying that. We've actually done a lot with that campaign. The bottom line of that one is let's put ourselves in a financial position as a church so that we can reach every man, woman, and child in Adams County and the surrounding areas. And we've done a lot. We put a new roof. If you were ever here when I was preaching, when any of us were preaching before, there were times, I remember one time I was talking, and there was a drip of water coming right about here, pretty steady the whole time I was talking, because we had a leaky roof. We've been able to fix that. We've been able to pay down a little bit of our debt with that. We've been able to hire a community pastor that helps us move in more into the community to reach more people with the good news of Jesus. So that campaign has positioned us to be in a good spot. So I don't know if we're going to introduce a pay off the debt campaign at some point. Maybe. That's down the road. It's just a brainstorm. We all need to figure out how to cut back, how to clear out, how to pay off for our own stuff. And if you're struggling with this less is more living, here's a final challenge I'm going to give you as I wrap up. I'm going to challenge you to consider going on a mission trip. You don't have to be a Christian, but if you go on a trip, I think God might open your eyes to what less is more living is all about. Especially if you get to go to Haiti, where we take a lot of trips. Now, Haiti's had some political turmoil lately, so last summer we took a trip to the DR instead, which is on the same island as Haiti, but it's just different politically in the Dominican Republic. And so I don't know where we'll be going in the spring with the ladies' trip, either the DR or Haiti, or next summer with our bigger trip. But if you get a chance, go on one of those trips. Here's what you'll experience. Let's say you go to Haiti, and you've never been before, and your first day, you're going to be on a bus. It's going to take you to Mission of Hope, where we go, and with what you see and what you smell and what you hear, you are going to be overwhelmed. Just telling you right up front. And you're going to start to wonder how people live like this. You're going to see people living with dirt floors in their home. Or one trip I took to Azerbaijan over in the Middle East, we went to the restroom in some villages, and we had squatty potties, all right? They didn't have anything you sit on. You just hover. And that's how you use the restroom. It was different. You're going, how do people do this? How do people live like this? And the dirt floors, and the kids will be outside playing soccer and kicking a half-flat soccer ball with no shoes on and running on what has some stones and mixed in with the dirt. And I'm going, I don't know how they do this. And you're overwhelmed with the poverty. But a couple days in, you'll start to see those same kids, and you'll see that they're smiling and they're having a good time. And you start to normalize and say, I guess that it's okay. They get this. And then you get to go to a worship service. And at the worship service, you'll see people who in your mind have nothing. And materially, they probably have almost nothing. And yet, you'll see them pouring themselves out to God in a way of their worship. Their arms will be up, their eyes will be closed, and they'll be singing as loud as they can, and it'll move you. It will. And you'll kind of start to say, I wish I could worship God like they do. Not because of what I have, because they don't have anything. And you start to get a little bit jealous for what they do have. And then you'll meet somebody. Like one of the first trips I went on, if you've ever been to Mission of Hope, I was down at the bottom of the hill with another friend from the bridge. And we met this college kid, and we were talking to him, and he had really good English, which also surprised us. And he began to tell us how grateful he was that we came to his country to tell people about Jesus. And we said, man, we didn't bring anything with us that we could give away. He goes, you're giving the love of God. What else do you need to give away? Well, yeah, but he wasn't wanting our stuff. He was just happy that we came and we're bringing the love of Jesus with us. We talked to him for, I'm going to say 30 minutes, maybe more. During that conversation, we asked him a lot of questions. His name was Patrick. And as we talked to Patrick, he kept opening the window up into what his life was like because we kept asking. And he told us about how he would get up early in the morning and go pray at this church that we could see off on a hillside in the neighboring village. He goes, yeah, I go up there every morning to pray. Well, when you say morning, how early do you get up to go pray? Because I'm thinking we're getting up pretty early ourselves here at Mission of Hope because we get up about 6, but the roosters start crowing about 5:45, so we're up early, and then we spend a little bit of time with God. And he says, well, and it wasn't a comparison game. We didn't even tell him that. But he says, yeah, I get up about 4 in the morning and go up to that church and spend about an hour with God in prayer before everything, life in the village gets going and gets busy. And we're going, oh, gosh, he's got something. And so by the end of our conversation, as many times as he told us how grateful he was for us and how much he envied us, we told him, hey, man, you've got something in your connection with God that we want and we're jealous of. Me and my friend, we just kept telling him over and over because we were and we couldn't believe it. And so for us, after all of this, we come back to America. And what do we want? We don't want what we had. We want what they've got. They've got a connection with God because they've realized what's most important in their world is relationships, is their connection with God. It's not in the abundance of our stuff. Now, generally, if you go on one of these mission trips, a couple days you'll feel that way, and then you kind of get back into society, and you just sort of ease back, and you don't know when it happens, but you start getting back into needing something that you don't have and wanting, and materialism takes back over, and that's kind of a general process. And it happens, and it's not bad to have nice things. Don't hear me say that. I think it's great to have a few good things that we need, that we want, than to have many things, 2 handfuls that we're still paying for, to own a few things and have many things own us that we're going to be paying off for a long time. Better is 1 handful with tranquility than multiple handfuls, than 2 handfuls with toil and a chasing after the wind. Let me end with this. If you're saying, yeah, I'm into what you're saying, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to manage my own money, we actually have a team of people who are willing to help you and coach you if you're interested in that, to coach you with your finances. One of the guys who's kind of heading up that team, his name's Brad Logan. Brad attends church here. Brad has coached a lot of people with their finances. And anytime that I know somebody who wants some help, I'll call Brad and see if he's available to help coach somebody else. Well, he's also training some other trainers, and we want to make them available to any of you who want some help with your finances. And so they're going to be available to coach you. If you want some coaching, just put on your blue card in your program, financial help, financial coaching, whatever, something like that, could use a mentor. And whether you're single or a couple, Brad and some of his team that we're putting together are willing to meet with you and to talk with you and to help you. Now, it might be hard work. What Brad says, if it took you 2 years to dig a hole, it's going to take you 2 years to dig out. But why not start? Why not start the process to start paying down that debt, to balancing our budget, to living on what we bring in and not more than we bring in? Okay, so that's one thought. The other thought is, on your way out today, I've got a little bookmark for you. It just says Making Change, lists the different topics we're going to be talking about. And on the back, it gives you a little hint about what we're going to be talking about with each one. On today's Less is More, it says, my life does not consist of the abundance of my possessions. So it's not all about my stuff. Just a reminder for you. All right, so I'm going to pray and close this today. And my challenge is can we put these things into practice? Can we learn the verse and apply it? Better is one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Would you pray with me? And as we go into prayer, let me just ask you this. If there's anybody who says, yeah, I want to put some of these principles into practice in my own life, and I need to work on it, and would say, yes, would you pray for me for this? Would you raise your hand and just say, yeah, pray for me for that? Yeah, I see those hands. Anybody else? Yeah, sure, definitely. You can just put it up and put it right back down. Yeah. Let me pray for you. Father, this is a desire really for all of us. Some have even raised their hand and said, I need that. Would you help us with our finances? Really help us with our desires. Would you help us to figure out our priorities and to go after those things, to cut back where we need to clear out what we need to so that we can put our focus on you, to pay off, and to begin to live in a way that honors you, or continue to live in a way that honors you with our finances. Help us to apply this less is more living to our own lives, to all of our lives. God, you are good, and you've always been good. You've always been faithful, as we sang earlier. And I know you are faithful, and I know you desire us to listen and obey you. So in this area of our lives, help us to listen and obey you as well. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
As we continue on with the service, we're going to continue our worship by offering our gifts back to God. So by giving our communication cards and our offering and our tithes this morning. As we do, we're going to sing this song of just surrender. This arms open wide that says, God, here I am. Take what I have. It's yours anyway. You gave it to me. I just want to live for you today. And so as the people with baskets come and as they go past you, we stand and just proclaim this song of surrender this morning. Take my life, I lay it down at the cross where I am found. All I have I give to you, my God. Take my hands and make them clean. Keep my heart in purity, that I may walk in all you have for me. So here I am. Oh, here I stand, arms open wide. Take my moments sing that again. Here I stand, arms open wide. And whoa, here I stand, arms open wide. And whoa, I am yours, and you are mine. Whoa, here I stand, arms open wide. And whoa, I am yours, and you are mine. Sing that again. Here I stand, arms open wide. Whoa, I am yours, and you are mine. Whoa, here I stand, arms open wide. Whoa, I am yours, and you are mine. My whole life is yours. I give it all, surrender to your name. And forever I will pray. Have your way, have your way. My whole life is yours. I give it all, surrender to your name. And forever I will pray. Have your way, have your way.
Well, I really believe that statement I made at the very beginning. If we put into practice some of these things that we're going to hear over the next 4 weeks, including some of the ones we heard today, life's going to be different for us. Today, the challenge is less is more living. Might be a bit of a challenge for us, but can we begin to move towards that? Less is more living. Join us next week. Have a great week. Thanks for being with us today.